Dan, want to take the roll call?
Chair, Dr. Keyes.
Here.
Vice Chair, Schellenbrook.
Here.
Member Jahankis.
Here.
Member Knighting.
Here.
Member Newman.
Here.
Member LeBlanc.
Here.
Member O'Connor.
Here.
Thank you all. Remind everyone that board members must state their name prior to speaking, including before saying vote. Remember to speak loud and clear for the public record. I will read the public notice statement. The Cultural Resource Review Board serves as an advisory board which makes recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. This is a properly noticed public meeting held in accordance with requirements of Florida law. Members of the public will be given reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the board as those items are addressed on the agenda. For public comments on matters not being considered by the board today, a general public comment period will be provided to address the board on matters within its jurisdiction. Each person addressing the board shall limit comments to 3 minutes. The person shall not address the board or any member thereof unless specifically recognized by the chairperson to do so. Once recognized, members of the public shall address their comments to the board as a whole. Public comment is intended for the board to hear from the public and shall not be considered an opportunity to demand immediate responses from the board or its members. Board members shall not engage in dialogue with persons making public comment unless the question or comment directed through the chair or made by the permission of the board. And let's see. We do have both items. It says for those matters requiring a public hearing, speakers may offer sworn testimony. If they do not, the board can consider the fact that testimony is unsworn in determining the weight or truthfulness of the testimony. Any physical or documentary evidence presented during a public hearing, such as drawings, photographs, or written statements, will be retained by the staff as part of the record. Board members are reminded that at the beginning of each item requiring a public hearing, they should state whether they had any communication with any person regarding the substance of the item outside the formal hearing of the board. If such a communication occurred, the board member should then identify the persons involved in the material content of the communication. All that. We have general public comment for items not on the agenda. I think that means that we start with the good. That tells me otherwise. We're going to discuss Sean Arnold. You all, the board members also got material. I think that's Steve. He has 3 minutes. He did request a percent, and the county attorney determined that would be 3 minutes. That's the reason you have it. So you have.
Right. Do you want to get a timer going? Whenever he's done
That
speaking.
comes later.
Thank you.
Comes before public comment on the agenda.
Yep. Okay, well, this is an item not on the agenda.
No, she's saying, have you approved your minutes yet?
Yeah, and it's.
So it says call meeting to order and then approval of the meeting minutes.
Okay, on my agenda, it says general public comment for items not on the agenda, 3 minutes per speaker comes before consideration of meeting minutes from August 11th. It's my agenda, correct?
Probably won't.
It's up to you guys.
You can make a motion.
Minutes from August 7th, April 11th, August 11th. All right, our agenda says minutes and then public comments, so
Yeah, we do. Do we have a second? Okay, I have a, this is where I usually ask the county attorney, is someone who has not attended that meeting allowed to, was not appointed even, not allowed to read the minutes and review them?
I don't understand the question.
she doesn't know if I can make the motion.
No, I would think,
Absolutely, you can make a motion.
No, she's not the issue. I am.
It's the
This is
issue.
my first meeting and I didn't attend that meeting and I just seconded that motion.
Right, you're required to do it. By statute, you have to vote on all matters before the board unless you have a conflict of interest.
So she wanted us if I could second.
Absolutely.
All in favor, excuse me, we have to roll call on this, I believe. Staff want to do the roll call, I'll get you to vote aye.
Yes, aye.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. One other item I'm gonna stick in real quick is to welcome Paula Blank and Walter Acott as our two members on the board. That's not on the agenda either. Okay, now I think we are ready for the 3 minutes.
Okay, I need to get a little clicker from her.
You ready to touch them? And Ryan will time you. This is Megan Wright for the record, and he'll announce when there's 30 seconds left.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chairwoman and fellow board members. My name is Steve Glidden. I live at 10690 County Road 13 North, which is the topic of today's discussion. Here is a summary of Piccolata past 13,000 years, but with only 3 minutes to present, I may miss 1 or 2 points. I'll start with 1874 when John Milton Armstrong built his house in Citrus Grove here. The steamboat landing in our front yard helped him ship his produce north. C.H. Arnold, his wife, Miss Ethel, bought this house in 1919 and started the Arnold family farm that is still producing timber today. Their granddaughter, Cindy Arnold Glidden, my wife of 47 years, and I find ourselves aging out of this historic home and plan to sell it. We would rather it become a history museum and park than a teardown for another McMansion or gas station. Apologies, let's see. There is another slide that didn't show up, my bad. It's a picture of Aunt Iovia Stockton reading a book in our front yard. The Dr. Leslie Keyes discovered in 1997 that Aunt Iovia Stockton once lived here. Dr. Keyes researched our home's historic value to protect it from demolition for what is now called the First Coast Expressway. Stockton, Watley, Davin & Company sold the Guana State Parklands to Gate Petroleum's founder Herb Payton in the 1980s, which he in turn sold to the state of Florida under the leadership of Henry Dean. When the Northwest Sector Overlay was created, our house was given the same Rural Center District designation as was Buddy Boys, which is our local gas station and country store. This paved the way for us to apply for a similar land use amendment if we so choose, but instead we would rather focus on other elements of this plan. Goal A2 defines our home as the southwestern corner of the Northwest Sector and goes on to call for civic, cultural, and recreation uses that provide a sense of place. I believe our family homestead makes the perfect cornerstone upon which to realize these goals.
30 seconds.
The Northwest Sector Plan also calls for the creation of a blueway from Durbin Creek to Piccolata. Perfect. Imagine Armstrong Arnold House inspired by Blue Springs State Park, by Alpine Groves Park, and by the amazing Mandarin Museum. Our next step is to present this idea to LAMP, highlighting their own goals seen here. We hope that they will recommend it to the Board of County Commissioners for acquisition in 2026. We're out of time, so please read the following emails on your own and support us on December 9th at the next LAMP Board meeting. Each of you have copies with details in your packet. Cindy and I thank you very much.
I don't know if this is permitted or not. And the board members ask any clarification.
Absolutely.
The board members have questions, comments, thoughts?
As you know, I know your house very well. I used to live in your neighborhood, and I've often thought that the county has overlooked Piccolata for many of its historical significance, because anything that happened in St. Augustine influenced Piccolata for centuries. And it goes back, you say, to 1300 BC, but the Seminoles were later arrivals there. They were hosted there after the First Seminole War. They met with Spanish representatives there. We're not sure where that was. There used to be a mission down there. There's a plantation both north and south of Piccolata. It's got a lot of history on it. So I'm all for that business.
Amen.
Thank you for doing this.
I have a quick question. Is your house listed in the fund list of site files? Any chance?
1985 site file, yes, which is about 12 pages long. Did not find that it had been updated, although I said a comment before the meeting started to write out that I thought there would have to been an update done when the FDOT did that development, but I went on to the Florida Master Site File today too. So, and I contacted FDOT last week because I knew this was going to be up there. You have to request for an email, and I didn't get any kind of response last week. So, I would again think that 20 years later they would have done that. Oh, great, complete.
Great, and that sounds great. Thank you for your.
And just as clarification, I worked for the Division of Historical Resources back from 1997 to 2002, so I was in that capacity that I was doing research on the property that certainly really knew that general plans. So make a lot of changes out that direction. And their research files in case anybody was interested are at the St. Augustine Society Research Center.
Where'd you say it was?
St. Augustine Historical Society Research Library on outer basis. Okay.
Have you identified sources of funding to make this museum?
You're my first attempt at any of this, okay? How'd I do?
Well, part of the land process, that's okay. Yeah.
So, I was just thinking, the Florida Trust, they have like a conservation easement that you could put on the house to protect it. So if you sell it, it will protect that. I don't know if that's something you've looked at, or, we can get, potentially landmarking it here for the county, to preserve it and, require any exterior alterations to go through the CRA process. I don't know if that.
I need your help on that, honestly. I'm familiar with conservation easements slightly. We've talked to Allison before, up at North Florida Land Trust. Talked to some of the people at JU about other properties that we have, but never about the historical aspect of it. So I've got a lot to learn, and any help I can get along the way, I'm grateful.
If anybody's interested in the history of Piccolata, recently discovered a doctoral thesis that was done by a lady, Sastre, S-A-S-T-R-E, and you've seen that.
Yeah.
It goes from BC era all the way through World War II. And Civil War, Seminole Wars, World War I. There were people in Piccolata continually until Cooley came along. That's right.
And on that note, and we were living out there at the time, and when this lady got finished with her dissertation, she invited us all from Pick. She went out the house and asked everybody in.
Really?
And we came into the St. Augustine Library, and she gave us a great presentation. And I learned more in that, 30, 40 minutes than I could imagine.
What year was that?
It was in, I would say, either the late 80s, early 90s. It's somewhere in there. It goes
Wonder
back.
if she's still around.
She is the wife of Bill Adams and moved to Asheville, North Carolina, probably about 15 years ago. So
So you can bring her down.
Yeah, maybe.
I could try it too.
It's a quick question clarification. So you're going to be selling the house, you were looking for,
I'm absolutely gonna be selling the house, okay? To who is still up in the air. You would be my first, the county would be our first preference with everything I just described. And the answer is yes, we're selling.
How many acres?
Just something, it's debatable. I got a deed that says it's 2.6 something, and then I got, the county says it's 2.38, so I think 3 something. So I don't know exactly, a survey will take kind of, you can imagine the last time that thing was surveyed.
How many feet of room?
Yeah, about 300 feet of riverfront, so it's you know, that kayak thing's not beyond the realm of possibility.
So you have some idea of what you want?
No, I honestly don't. That's a great question. He addressed that, Brian addressed that too. We put the application in this weekend to LAMP. He's in charge of LAMP, and he's come back to me with some questions like that. I've got to get some homework done, and I'll get back to you on that.
Gotcha.
yes, Susan Shelter.
Chair. I'm trying to discern this map, I'm not really familiar with the area. But you mentioned the northwest sector overlay, so as a concept, so is it part of an overlay?
Yes. So we're the southwest corner of the northwest sector. Absolute corner.
Thank you.
Anybody?
Madam Chair, I could just mention in passing, my name is Walter Okon, and my dear friend Carolyn Draga, who's a historic preservation specialist at FEMA, had encouraged me to be sure that you guys got to do what you want.
Man, thank you very much.
See,
Thank
maybe she can get us the study.
We're gonna
Maybe.
I'm not supposed to say this, but this is my wife Cindy, and she likes to hide out, and none of this would have happened without her. None of it.
Well, that's not true, but. Chairman's prerogative, I want to thank all the neighbors that came. Physical support.
Just a question, I'm not sure if this is appropriate time. Is this something that we should place on a future agenda? Or is it something that, we could somehow help out by sending a letter or something along those lines to them? Or is that even something that we can do?
Lots of people.
Oh, other than attending the meeting? Yeah.
Well, Ryan, is it appropriate that we send a letter?
Certainly, yeah, you can get consensus of the board, send a letter of support.
And as I would understand it, it would only come back to us as a business item if we were looking at local landmark designation or national register designation at Jackson, Richmond, things that we
Unless you request.
I'm not sure what role we would be requesting.
Okay.
What are you,
I guess I'm proposing that we send a letter
well,
to them.
I think we can,
We can have
You can do that by, yeah, since it came to you through general public comment, you can do that through consensus.
we'll work on that.
Okay.
Get it out. So, do we need a motion? Say
I'm
consensus on
So,
one motion?
let me finish my statement. So the intent is for staff to write a letter of support from the board to LAMP?
Mhm.
Okay, you can do that through consensus.
Do we need a motion?
No, consensus should just be all, if everybody, so you can do consensus, if consensus is if everybody agrees, then it moves forward. If there's a lack of consensus, then it would then move to a motion, but since you apparently have consensus, you may move forward.
And I would like, it would be great if the staff could circulate that letter first, so we can make sure to include all these wonderful fun things.
Susan Joker,
would there be any stipulation in your sales contract that the potential buyers manage, if you agree to the museum, if it's an individual as opposed to an entity?
This is a really great question that I haven't had time to even think about, but it brings up my questions is like, okay, if the buyer's the state of Florida, well then, we're on the same board, we're on board with the same thoughts. If the buyer's a commercial individual, then they're gonna have their own interest. And that was my point on that one slide. There's a red spot on the top of my house. It's the same color as the red spot on top of Buddy Boy's, which is a gas station and commercial grocery store that would leave me access to go at least pursue it at the county in the planning department. That's what they would do, is what I'm trying to get at. That's where they would go, would be my guess.
Well, and I think clarification, you're going to the county, you're not going to the state of Florida.
That's correct. But she asked other buyers.
Yeah, but the state would not necessarily guarantee you the house and property would be safe each.
That's what I was, wouldn't you agree? I mean, so then it wouldn't be necessary for them. But if we had, let's say all this is a boondoggle and I just wasted years of my life, I'm going to sell it. Okay, there's no question about it. And I probably wouldn't be able to ask them to do what we're asking to do. We're asking you to do, asking the county to do, and then have them give me a chunk of change. It just wouldn't happen.
So I guess I'm also wondering if, what your position would be if an individual would try to sell it, and the individual then would try to develop it into carriage homes or townhouses or something like that.
It would break our heart. I mean,
Right.
if that's what you're getting at.
Stipulation would you make?
Pardon me?
What stipulation would you make?
It's a free market.
Well,
It's a
but you
free
would
market.
not put deed covenants on the sale.
Correct. No, I'm not. There's not going to be any deed covenants on this thing. At least
So
at this.
therefore, the conservation easement doesn't sound like an option either. It's a conservation easement would operate as a deed covenant.
I see. And let me back up and say, at this stage of the game, you're the first folks I've talked to. All right. This is an idea that we came to in over the living room couch, right? And this. So I'm learning as you're asking these questions. So don't take. As we move forward, if something comes up that says, they don't want to do this, but look at this. I don't want to, bind myself to something I said here today. That maybe we will make an option. But at this stage of the game, in my mind, if somebody besides the county buys it, they're going to want to do something that they want to do. And when we sell, we're definitely going to move. So I don't see the control that I would have to tell them, you can buy it from me, but you have to do this museum. I can't do that. That's the point I'm trying to get.
But you can sell a property with deed restrictions that leave the house and the land intact for a whole variety of purposes.
I see. All right. Okay. So maybe that's an option. Like I said, maybe it's an option in the future.
Yeah. Just
But at this stage of the game, I'm way
pick
early.
it up and move it off the land. There are all kinds of possibilities.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, good. Good.
Having the largest houseboat on the same time.
They moved a house to your property up at Manor Museum. By the way, that's make room for another one.
Okay.
So through the chair, going back to the consensus, so staff will draft a letter to LAMP stating support from this board for the purchase of the property as a museum. There was a comment about adding other things. Generally, a letter like that, it gets drafted and then sent out. We'll send it to you, of course. Anything else, you're always free to draft your own letter to LAMP if you want to have particular facts, but we can't use it as a conduit to have conversation amongst you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. All right. We're ready for agenda item number 1, which is Milano Beach as a potential National Register Historic District. Presentation by
Yep, so for the record, my name is Megan Wright. I am the CRRB staff liaison. So today we're going to be talking about the Milano Beach area as a potential National Register Historic District. And again, this is just informational and a vote at the end that the board will reach. So first, for information, National Register of Historic Districts are non-regulatory in nature. They're honorary. They do not prevent demolition or alterations of properties. They do not raise property insurance. They do not require public access on private properties. They may provide accessibility to federal, state, or local tax relief. And they may encourage heritage tourism or visitors in the Volano Beach area. So this is a boundary that was obtained in a 2022 survey. The survey was for the entire coastal highway. It wasn't just for this area. It is 28 acres in length. The north side starts at Surfside Avenue, while the south borders Volano Road and incorporates Volano Road. And there are zoomed in photographs that I can pull up upon requests from board members.
I have a question.
Can we hold questions till the end?
Okay.
Thank you so much. So to just speak a bit further on what the conclusion of the survey did dictate and their rationale for this boundary. It was platted in 1926, making that historic. Construction of the Volano Beach Casino did begin around that time, and this area does have records of being impacted by the Great Depression, as well as hurricanes in the 1930s. There was a post-World War II boom of economic prosperity, and the insurgence of vehicles did bring more business to Volano Road, and then the development of the Usina Bridge brought more economic impact to the coastal highway just north of Volano Road. Within this 28-acre boundary, there are 42 structures with variable usages, so we have commercial and residential, but the majority are single-family and multifamily. And here is a table. There are some handouts if you need more accessibility to read closer up. What I did here was I broke down existing entities and the potential district in Volano on that right-hand side. So under that green column, you have the group of Main Street Volano. In the center, you have two zoning tools, planning and zoning tools. One is called the North Coastal Overlay District, which is an overlay, and then the Volano Beach Town Center overlay. Again, these are planning tools, but they are both overseen by an entity or a group of people known by the North Coastal Design Review Board. That's one of 6, I believe, groups of folks that are under the Planning and Zoning Agency. So they help to advise the BOCC in some types of applications. And just for context, if you're unfamiliar with kind of planning and zoning, the purpose of the North Coastal Design Review Board is to maintain, protect, and enhance the diverse and unique character of the North Coastal Corridor and its established beach community, respect the well-documented history of the area, and achieve specific goals and objectives of the St. Johns County Comprehensive Plan. The Design Review Board, again, that's North Coastal. Their primary responsibility is to determine compliance with Part 3.09.00 North Coastal Overlay District and Part 3.10.00 Volano Beach Town Center Overlay of the St. Johns County Land Development Code. And again, there's handouts up at the front. And for the CRRB members, I did print out maps, physical maps for you guys to flip through. And I will include a map that overlays all of the 3 potential districts on top of each other. And the reason why I included this is because there are some types of potential conflicts or overlaps that may come to be when discussion will happen later, and we can reference this table. This references things like conformance to design guidelines or preservation standards, types of grants or incentives that are available if your property is in a National Register Historic District versus when it is not. That is the main difference. North Coastal Overlay District mainly oversees paint colors and architecture. Loosely though, there are some instances of triathlons and events in the area, while Volano Beach Town Center Overlay mainly oversees special usages and big events. And I know that there are folks in this room that have a lot of experience, and please do correct me or address that directly in your public comment. So here's the map of the 3 overlays on top of each other, or excuse me, districts. So in the yellow, we have the North Coastal Overlay District. and that spans from Volano Beach up until the Guana Dam, if I'm speaking correctly. And then the other one, Volano Beach Town Center overlay, mostly spans across Volano Road. And the purple outline, again, to remain consistent with the previous slide, that is the potential Volano Beach National Register district that was pulled from that 2022 survey. And now I welcome any public comment or questions directly from board members, whichever you'd like to go first.
I'm going to provide a little additional information from something I didn't find in the packet, but I think you sent it out electronically. Got an email correspondence with Dr. Kara, I can't remember her last name because I was nurse here.
Lucas, yeah.
Lucas, who is the National Register Coordinator in Tallahassee. And she did bring up the fact that National Register of Historic Places properties are, the protection level is in regard to a federal undertaking that also qualifies in Florida as a state undertaking, which means if you have to get a permit or you're widening a road or you're doing something else with those public dollars, then you have to look at other options. In the case of Federal Transportation Act, and I know this is a lot of jargon, but it's Section 4F, it requires that no feasible improvement alternative. It's a pretty high standard. So we've seen roads moved out of the way to protect historic buildings or cemeteries, or the buildings given as an example. The other is that, as well as our local landmark status, National Register of Historic Places designation provides the opportunity for ad valorem tax exemption. So therefore, if you have a building that needs maintenance, if you have a current owner, it's a very small amount of money they could put a heating and air conditioning system in and qualify for the value of that and freeze their taxes on that part. If it is let's say a derelict property that needs hundreds of thousands of dollars, as long as they spend more than what the building value is, they qualify for that ad valorem tax exemption. So it's not, if you look at St. Charles County property appraiser, you get a building and land value. So you ideally want the building value as little as possible, so that the money you spend on it is what the taxes stay at the lower rate. If everybody's millage goes up, it goes up that much, but you're not penalized for spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to put a building back. And then yes, the third one is National Register. It's not a requirement, but it is certainly worth points from the state when it goes to grants. There are also been special kind of programs set up by the state of Florida, especially after disasters, and National Register properties get first qualification on those as well. You can probably tell I've done this for a very long time and written lots of them. Yes. Well, are we okay to have questions?
Okay. Questions? That's it.
Questions on the board?
Okay. It's the creating of an ad valorem tax break automatic, or is that on a case-by-case basis?
It goes through this. There's a very simple application process that comes to this board makes a recommendation, that goes to the county commission, that gives a recommendation, the county commission decides that and notifies the property appraiser. On the ones of those that I've done, I go to the property appraiser and tell them it's in process, because there have been other counties where they actually kept appraising it, as they kept watching the improvements instead of repeating the purpose. Most of those were for South Florida, but we've had a great working relationship. That program's been in place for more than 30 years.
And where did the original request for this historic designation come from?
The original one goes back a long way. Probably some of those in the audience can answer that. I mean, I came here in 1997 and talked about it. So.
And this GAI survey that they did, who paid for that? The county, I assume?
Yes,
Was that done through a grant?
it was done through a grant, that's correct.
So yeah. That's through, probably from the state.
So is the survey from 2022, is that still good to go? That could be used for future action, or would it need to be resurveyed? And
Well, it needs to be field verified. In other words, we've had a lot of development pressure along the coast.
okay, there's one less hotel down there too.
So.
Not quite. It's still there. Right, that's it, it's still there.
Okay, thank you.
So, but it's certainly the starting point for looking at boundaries of the district. You cannot do open land. So, do we have any other board member information before we go to public comment.
So I have a suggestion on how we might proceed. And that is to look at the specific national registered eligibility criteria, which is what we would need to assert, such as integrity of location, design, set, materials, workmanship, feeling, association, and one of some of the others. I was able to find several, but I wasn't sure about materials and workmanship, so.
Are you looking at county landmarks or are you looking
No.
at national registry? You
National
only need to have one of the 4 elements of significance, which is association with the person.
Yeah, through the chair, if I may. So process-wise, what this board is limited in doing is they can make a recommendation that the county pursue the National Landmark Registry. So that would be this. This board would not weigh in on those matters. Essentially, that would be done. The county would hire an outside expert to come in and handle the application, the stakeholder engagement, and all of those things. This is not within the land development code. It's not within the purview. What's happening today is that you're making a recommendation to the county that they pursue it. So those matters would be investigated by the consultant and meet all of those elements. For the landmark, once it meets National Register status, then we would come back for the landmarking because that groundwork would be done.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, our recommendation would be for the county commissioners to authorize a study to match up the criteria with the actual.
Sure, it wouldn't move forward unless it met criteria, as Dr. Keyes had mentioned.
So we would move, we would request that the county commission move forward with evaluating.
Right, so it's completely up to the Board of County Commissioners to move this matter forward. Obviously, the big hurdle in that is stakeholder input and how that we go about. And so normally, our staff, we have other responsibilities. So generally, as in done in Jacksonville, an outside consultant is hired through our procurement process, if the county decides to move forward.
And just as, again, information as far as property owners are notified of this, you do not have to have concurrence. You provide time, and there's a legally established time frame for objections. And it's, for districts, it's a majority of property owners.
Just has to be a majority of property owners?
Yes.
So individual can opt out of the designation.
No, then you would have. Correct. And again, it doesn't, there's no design review. It has great protections, not disincentives. How's that?
So Megan, you also talked about in your staff report that there's another designation that's referred to as the St. Johns County Landmark District, and that has a lot of other implications, right? This put to the National Register.
Yeah.
So are there any other properties in St. Johns County that have that landmark designation?
Yeah, I believe there's about 13. I could be misspeaking, but there are at least 17 structures that are either national registered listed or are landmarks.
St. Johns County Landmark?
Yes, sir. Right.
Yeah, there is actually a list on the county website.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's, and some of them are county properties, like Alpine Road.
And I think Dr. Keyes has recently done 1 or 2 listings.
I did local landmarks and ad valorem tax exemptions, yes, for properties and these things that I'd like to think history has helped.
So I think just to clarify, there's the National Register Historic District that really is not under the purview of the county for design regulations, and then there's the landmark process that would be like added later that does require certificate of appropriateness review on exterior changes. So it's that one, the county level is restrictive. The National Register is mostly honorary.
Right.
That's the difference. And so we could potentially, if this ever goes forward, it's like the National Register, but we don't have to go forward with the landmark.
So let me clarify, the code does say if we do establish a national district, that we'll at least consider it as a landmark district. So it doesn't have to, but it does have to be considered. So thank you.
The only other example I'll give you is the latest National Register, if you're familiar with St. Augustine Beach, St. Augustine Beach Hotel, which is still, I did that one in 3 weeks, but it's still the only property in the state of Florida for national civil rights significance, and it is for the way it's out there. The positive side of that is as soon as that got designated, they have received grants from the National Park Service for the National Trust for Historic Preservation in the state of Florida. But the building, I think they're up to between $2 and $3 million, so the wind is back in. So, anyway. Okay, any other? All right, we're going to our 3 minutes of public comment, and I'm going to go in the order that I received the paper. Linda LaCerva at 301 Genoa Road.
I'm Linda LaCerva. I'm the executive director for Milano Beach Main Street. I also was served on the Coastal Design Review Board and chaired it for 8 years. So my comment is that this is another example of something that has come onto this agenda with nobody in the Milano area really knowing what's going on. We have 3 community groups there. We have Milano Beach Main Street, which I'm the executive director. We have NSIA, the North Shores Improvement Association, and we have North Beach Community Alliance. Not one of those groups really understands this, and not one of them agrees to it. I have a note from Debbie Dickerson, who's the president of BCA, saying she absolutely does not support this. Fran Windler and SIA does not support this, and I talked to Michelle Murphy, who's our president, who's out of the country. She also doesn't support this. Not that we don't support it, we don't support it moving forward without us understanding it and getting some input from the community. We have a community meeting every single month for the last 22 years. Vivian had it during COVID on lawn chairs outside. We have the opportunity to get community input, and not a select little section of community input, but the whole community. Milano Beach Main Street and that Main Street corridor, Milano behind it, Porpoise Point behind it. I can tell you, I personally know who lives in every single one of those houses. I'm past president of Milano Beach Main Street, and so is Vivian. I know somebody who lives on every single street in Surfside. This is not difficult for us to get a survey out to people, for us to talk to people. The whole community, all 5,000 of them, not the 200 emails that somebody has on record. So I'm urging you to put this on hold till we have an opportunity, particularly us 3 community groups who cover just about all that territory. I think it goes further north than that, right? Because North Beach, it goes all the way up to Guana, this does, right? So it's a little bit further than where we are, but North Beach Community Alliance does take into consideration all of North Beach. So all I'm asking for is, we have snappers in Milano, which it's a historic landmark. Again, no public notification and no conversation in Milano. We met with the person who's doing snappers at least 5 times. Cindy Campbell-Taylor was here. I would call her up to speak. She talked about every single parking space, how many parking spaces we needed. This group recommended it become a historic landmark. Nobody spoke up because we honestly didn't know about it. Through fault of our own, not through their fault, but it's a historic landmark. On Milano Road, it has 175 seats, and because it's a historic landmark, not one parking space. We don't have 175 parking spaces in all of Milano. If you come there on a Saturday afternoon, there's nowhere to park. And so all we're asking is we worked with snappers, he carved out X number of spaces, we were good to go, and then he became a historic landmark and he needed none. So all I'm asking is to put this on the side till we have an opportunity to really understand it. It does not seem like it's terrible implications to the property owners, but it's individual property owners and they have their rights. So thank you. All right, sorry.
Vivian Brown, 30 Beachcomber Way.
Yes, Vivian Browning, past founding president of Long Beach Town Center, as president of North Shore Improvement Association. We visioned between 98 and 99 after the new bridge opened with all the community, the business and residential community, came up with the town center concept, which is in the comp plan, in growth management of 1985, and our town center project is currently in the comp plan 2025 and 2050. This is too preliminary. I think y'all asked one question, that this project that y'all are talking about has been around since the 70s. I came to Volano in 85 as a middle-aged person, now I'm old, is that, and I've owned property, I've owned a business, I've owned vacant land, all of this, never heard of this district in the whole time. It's not been brought to the community or the public. Another point that I want to make is that when we did our visioning and decided to be a town center, in our commercial footprint, that commercial footprint had been there since the 1970s, that we were designated by the state as blighted and bypassed. The bridge bypassed us with our business district, and we were blighted according to the blight regulations for a CRA. Now we're 25 years into this CRA. We have about 5 years left to do whatever's going to be done with it, and it's gone. And thank you for being here, Tara Meeks, is that it could be gone before that. So this is not the right timing to put the brakes on development and give the public, this nice couple here with their property, people are like deer in the headlights when you start talking about you're designated historic and you have to do this, this, and this. That is a burden on the private property owner. Not greater than y'all, greater than me, is the United States Constitution. Private property rights. If a willing buyer and a willing seller should be able to work together because they have the deed to the ground and the building. So making this another layer, and I do see this as a burden, and the timing is not right. So timing is not, we need to concentrate. We did this for economic development. We've brought Publix. That's great. And then the people y'all are talking to, I've got my notes on y'all's overview, is that y'all don't even mention North Shore Improvement started by it is not in here. And I'll mention Sally. Sally came to us as our director of Main Street in 2007.
3 minutes.
2007.
Excuse me.
No, you said you didn't give me a 30-second notice. Came in 2007 and not while we were doing all the town center. So I'm saying this is not the right time. The public, I found out about this Friday afternoon from one of the business owners. If I don't know about it, and I've been there 40 years, y'all haven't done your homework. It's not the right time to send this.
Thank you for your information. Sally O'Hara.
Thank you. I'm Sally O'Hara. I've been working with a multitude of groups over the last couple of decades. And the first of which I began entering into Friends of A1A. And with the county commission survey for the 2022 byway review for contiguous properties, I was shocked at the demolitions along the A1A corridor, of which I had been working with for a long while. I later became involved with Volano Beach through NSIA, who was the parent of the Volano Beach Main Street, who had their visioning from the CRA document. In the CRA plan, there is community participation detailed as well as preserving historic properties detailed. All of these agencies and organizations are focused on preserving community quality of life, preserving our heritage, yes, creating thriving communities and so forth. There are overlay districts that need to dwell into reviewing the National Historic Designation, but the designation itself does not negate a property owner doing what they need to do. It actually has no protections. Look at the county. Hastings Civic Center got demolished. Fiddler's Green got demolished. We almost lost Canroy House, which was about to be demolished. And unfortunately, we're losing Magic Beach. This designation is just a bump in the road to alert citizens that we have a value in the community with historic properties that create economic benefit that marry to our initiatives in all these organizations. Yes, in the write-up, they negated NSIA, which was instrumental since 1939 in the community. And yes, everybody needs to be engaged. The survey created in 22 did not include the Lewis household, Sinclair Lewis household, because it was focused on contiguous properties to the byway. So on multiple meetings, and I've attended about a decade worth of these particular meetings, of which many have not, it was suggested, and look at the minutes, preservation of properties along the byway. We had Trey Asner speak at our Long Beach meetings in 22. So yes, it was aware, but whether people listen and understand is another issue. The minutes over the years will reflect. So I did want to make sure we understood the status of snappers. We don't want that to go by demolition by neglect. They had some code violations recently, and we're concerned about that. I would like a clear delineation about it posted on the website. I'm not sure where it's posted, but what properties in St. Johns County are listed on the National Registry #1 as a landmark designation at the local level #2, and #3, culturally significant. There are a number that are administratively designated, but nobody knows what they are, even when they go to demolish.
Sort of, as a courtesy in reverse there, I guess, can we ask the staff if they would make sure that the answer to that last question that Sally O'Hara had? What is listed as significant cultural resource local landmarks? Where do they find that on the website? Or
So there is a handout that is online that lists landmarks and structures that are nationally registered. In terms of culturally significance, that comes in front of us only through development review. So that is referenced to in the LDC. You can pull that up if you'd like.
if you, yeah, I think it would help if we had like websites.
Do we compile, does the county compile a list of those after they've been reviewed or no? We do. Is that available on the
That's their
website?
statute is supposed to be.
Is that available on the website, or can they request it through public records request?
Yeah, you can request it through a public records request.
I think probably we should all have that too. It's doesn't of us. Okay, all right, so again, clarification, National Register designation does not control what a property owner does. Turn around the next day with a demolition permit, you can tear the building down. It offers incentives, not disincentives. The only time that there is a control issue again is if there is a federal or state undertaking. I didn't make up the words. Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act specifies that, and then the Transportation Act.
And through the chair to clarify, so this board cannot designate a National Historic District. This board is not within their purview. They are simply making a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. And so the Board of County Commissioners ultimately would have to make that decision. And there is stakeholder, property owner engagement through that. And so, you know, concerns are good here, but if you have concerns as well, you should express them to your commissioners. But this is simply a recommendation from this board. It's not, they can take no action on it. We'll simply elevate it, and then it's up to the Board of County Commissioners.
And even this board wouldn't be doing a designation, they would recommend that National Register Historic District be considered and studied and move forward with the nomination process. Because the actual designation, even if the county commission moves forward, that happens at the state and federal level.
Correct.
So it's just doing documentation of the property. Conversation, yes, please.
Who's the applicant here?
This
Okay,
came,
and nobody from Boston
As-
Beach.
this came as a request to this board, I think actually Sally.
From the Florida Downtown Association
Yes.
that represents all small communities in the state of Florida.
And the signature on the application was who?
There is no application,
So-
it was a request.
Let me clarify, okay. This came to this board through general public comment. We have not received any correspondence from the Downtown Association or anything. I believe it was Ms. Hare brought it up at public comment. The chair added it to an agenda. The last meeting, unfortunately, the way it was added, that was not on our published agenda. So it was my suggestion that it come back on a notice published agenda to at least have input and people understand what was occurring before we could move forward and then go through the process a little bit. So we have no written correspondence or application. This, again, that application would be done, hire an outside consultant, and all of that would be done through them, through SHPO and to the National Park Service Department. Sure. Thank you.
But it's, and that's not unusual that the owners are not requesters.
Oh, I get that.
You know that.
But just by way of mentioning in passing, if we say that we want to do this, it just means that we want to start the engine.
Yes.
And that engine includes driving over to see you guys and talking to every one of your groups any number of times, whatever's required. So if that's not clear so far, I hope I helped make that clear right now in my comment. It's just going to be to start the car. It's not, we're not going to say you have to take this. We're just going to say we want to consider it further and ask the county commission to start the process.
Architect. Any other board? Do you have a motion from the board?
Just one comment.
Okay.
In looking, and I know this is probably not really relevant specifically, but I would like, if it goes further, that in addition to looking at the outline that the consultants made, that also look at some other areas around it, a little bit on Farrow Road and places like that, that could easily extend the boundaries of the place. Just as a thought.
Might I add some commentary? We do may add commentary.
I think we're done with public comment. Okay, Kristen, the study area would include other parts of the law.
At least look at it.
Yeah, so again,
Yeah.
what the study area is, what the boundary ends up being is not within the purview of this board. It really is a recommendation to move this on to see what the Board of County Commissioners' desire is with regard to establishing a National Historic District.
All right. Anybody comfortable making a motion? Well, okay, that's the drop down here, I guess. I would make a motion that we recommend that the county commission study the entire Milano Beach area for the possibility of consideration as nomination for the National Register of Historic Places.
Second. Since we're in discussion, I've been through the National Register process and there is a public process as part of that, and sometimes it can be maybe not as inclusive, so I wonder if we can just recommend as part of our recommendation that all of the community groups are included in that process, because sometimes maybe one community group is left out because they didn't have that notice distance, or, you know, maybe Dr. Pease can explain the notice requirements for the National Register, I can't remember.
Well, it would be affected property owners.
Just affected property owners, so it wouldn't include any of the, like, local,
It doesn't preclude,
yes,
it's just legally required.
Yeah.
All of it.
so I think we should
So we could
recommend
do a broader,
a broader notice,
Yes.
community engagement process
Yes.
as part of that. That would be fair.
County commission meetings develop that or take that into consideration where people can make public comments at the county commission meetings?
This is not it's not gonna be, I guess, the only time the commission would look at it is when they're voting on whether to investigate it or not.
I think if you're doing broad community engagement, you would literally have consulting staff go out into the community to a community center or churches or
Yeah,
whatever.
actual community
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, so there's people, so you get more of a warm and fuzzy kind of interactive time rather than your official notice in the mail and leave it at that.
Yeah, that would make me feel a bit more comfortable with this option.
Yeah, there's a clear stakeholders list here, obviously.
Yes.
Here we are.
That would not get the notice
It might not.
unless they're unaffected property.
Property owner.
Yeah, so if they're, the association or the group of people that meet every month, I feel like they should be part of the conversation.
I just I expect some overlap. We would hope you. Any other thought? Can we accept that as, let's see, amend the motion? Is that an amendment?
During the investigation, that part of that investigation is more
Community
robust.
engagement. Yeah.
Broad community first, it's just the required.
Okay.
So you have an amendment, your amendment would need a second?
Second.
You vote on your amendment?
All right, okay. Vote on the amendment to the motion made by Blair Knight, seconded by Christine Newman, to, as part of the study, have broad community engagement and all, a large stakeholder stuff.
I understood the motion to be to include established community groups.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Okay, your amendment passes. You can now you have on the table your motion as amended.
We have, called the question and we vote on that. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay. There we go. Thank you all. Thank you for being here, for the conversation. Board reports. No, we haven't. I did give you one, so you're there everywhere, including Tallahassee, so I'll do it verbally. I have requested permission to speak at the county commission meeting, or excuse me, the St. Johns County delegation meeting in the county commissioner on the morning of October 27th with the area grants that have been recommended for funding, the category grant funds, for preservation. So I submitted my one-page fact sheet, and we'll have 3 minutes on that. For those of you not familiar with that, it's a process that was adopted about 43 years ago. The Florida Historical Commission makes recommendations and it goes through the legislative process. And many have been successful, with the exception of this last year, and that 11-hour very long extended session. And it went from full funding to whatever, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. So, but a number of those grants are to repair hurricane flood damage resiliency as one United States. So, yeah. Too much else going on in the area. It's like some big project. Anybody else? Anything to report?
I have a quick question to, maybe to staff. Anything more on the Crrb by the DMP?
I have reached out, I believe 2 emails and 2 phone calls, and I've heard nothing back from the potential applicant who expressed interest to Dr. Keys. Yeah, unfortunately.
Good to know. It's part of the area that was flooded.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for clarification, Ms. West. And that is, I've noticed that the land development code seems to have more recent dates. The last one was August 11th of this year, which was the same day that we had a meeting. So I'm wondering if this is a change in language from the land development code, or just sometimes I remember Word or whatever word processing system we use changes as of the date that you're printing it out or something like that. Anyway, mine shows August 11th, 2025. Have the land development code as it pertains to CRRB, has that changed?
No, that would come before you if there were changes.
Okay.
But there have been numerous updates to the land development code this year and they're ongoing.
And so then we will be informed of what the changes are, as well as the fact that it had changed.
Correct.
Anybody else have a board report?
Well, there's one thing. Hastings is having a fall festival. It's Friday and Saturday, October 24 and 25. It's with a lot of fun, a lot of musical groups and other activities. And the Hastings Community Center and Libraries do, there's an article about it in front of each reporter, saying that it's due to open in early 2026.
Okay. There being no further business.
So staff reports, just,
Sorry.
that's okay, just so you're aware, your elections will be held in December. You vote for a new chair and vice chair. Also, I wanted to bring to, so we kind of talked about this with the Volano Beach matter. In order to get things on the agenda, you are a collegial board, you have to do it by consensus. One is you can't add something. So during public comment, if there's something you hear and you want it to come before you on an agenda or you want additional information, that would be the time to say, can we have that as an agenda item? As you'll recall, last time we added some items to the agenda, and the problem when we do it that way is that they're not on our notice published agenda that the public who chooses to can reach out and see those items, and so that's why this came back to you. So if you want something on the agenda, bring it up during a meeting. And this would be the time to say, I would like this to be an agenda item or something like that, and as long as you have the consensus of your peers, and if it's not consensus, again, we would go through a motion, but that would be the time to add things to the agenda, because you do things collectively, not individually.
Knowing that, I'd like to add something to the agenda to follow up on the Piccolata accusation, or more than just a letter. In other words, there's some follow-up activity by this board to disseminate the situation.
The land board meets December 9th.
I believe.
Right?
Then after, yeah.
We'll be December 12th, right?
Be cozy. Well, I guess we could ask that staff provide us a report on the 8th, since it will be ready for the land meeting on time. Where are the land meetings held?
County auditorium.
That's right. They get a picture.
So
Okay, can we add that to the agenda?
it's just a
An update and maybe the letter.
So the request is, well, the letter will be done because it'll have to include in that agenda item for land. And so the request is to have it on the agenda just as an update?
yes.
Okay.
So that and elections to this point are the only items on the agenda. Okay. What about update on the letter going to the county commissioners on the Volano Beach Historic District, so we get updates on it?
Sure, we'll have an update at that time. I don't know if it would have gone to the commission at that time because of the way we have to do matters, and then of course administration will handle that, but we can certainly give you an update.
And we're also, excuse me, supposed to have an update at the December meeting on the detention annex, right? Are we got the notes, or maybe that was your attention?
It's, well, it'll come up as a business item in December of 2026 when the work. you want updates throughout.
Why will it come December 2026?
Because we moved last meeting to defer it until then, because the actual rehabilitation of the building will be concluded and we would have the local landmark designation based on what the building facade looks like by that time. Because it is going, the proposal is to fit it back more to the original 1950s than it is.
I didn't think they were using those materials. Okay, so we can put it on the agenda for you.
And I can certainly tell you I've done a walk around with the architect. But yeah, it's December 2026.
You have problems except
You're out here. The only other thing that I had asked for, if, and I don't know whether Megan knows or not, is what our terms are.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah, so I printed out the updated roster that I got from BOCC administration, some staff, and that is in your binders. If you pull on the tab, you'll open up to a table of contents, and then that will have the updated roster. I've also printed out your individual member paperwork? Yeah, onboarding paperwork that you had to sign when you first were accepted as the CRRB member. And I printed that all out for your informational purposes.
So, I'm not losing anybody. Next. White green. You have the green tab, I don't know.
You have a yellow.
That'd be yellow.
I haven't seen one.
Yeah.
There's a variety.
The tab colors,
Yeah,
yeah.
there are.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't missing any board members for the next meeting or two. You must cajole the ones that are rolling. Okay, now there being no further business. Motion to adjourn? Everybody say adjourn.
I'm ready.
Chris has second. All in favor, stand up and say aye.
Yeah, no problem.